Now for more on President Xi's trip and the upcoming summit, let's bring in Josef Gregory Mahoney. He is Professor of Politics and International Relations at East China Normal University in Shanghai. Thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it. I want to begin by talking about the significance of President Xi making his first trip abroad since the pandemic began and choosing to go to Central Asia. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's very telling that the first country he went to was not Uzbekistan, where the meeting is being held, but to Kazakhstan. As was noted, Kazakhstan is where President Xi first announced the Belt Road Initiative almost a decade ago, and that he chose to visit this country, his first international visit after this long drought of visits due to the pandemic. It's a very telling sign, the role that Kazakhstan and Central Asia plays in his thinking about development, but also security, and his idea of multilateralism in organizations like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization.
Let's talk more about the Belt and Road Initiative. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years. I was actually in Beijing when they kicked that off. Is it maturing? Is it coming along? And talk to me about what it means to go through Central Asia. I guess what many say where the old Silk Road went through and really is the impetus for so much potential trade moving on in the decades to come.
Well, you're right. One of the things that we know about Kazakhstan, for example, is that it is the key land bridge between China and Europe. It's got strategic reserves of oil, gas, and uranium. It's an obvious starting point to what we call the Silk Road or the New Silk Road. But in terms of the idea of BRI maturing, I think that we've really seen this, especially in the past year, as we've had the development of the Global Development Initiative, the GDI, which China has founded essentially within the United Nations to sort of elevate its win-win global development scheme to the UN level, to that type of multilateral organization, with the key objective in the short term, trying to help recover from the pandemic and achieve some of the UN's vital 2030 development goals that are currently in danger because of the economic downturns associated with the pandemic.
Yeah, and there's really so much to talk about in that area. The fact that China is moving toward green energy, perhaps more rapidly than any other nation, but it still heavily depends on fossil fuels. So this Sino-Kazakh tie really is going to be very important, considering China is the largest purchaser of Kazakhstan oil and gas.
Yeah, I think there are 2 points here, right? The first is that many people, if we go back several years ago, 10 years ago or so, and a little bit after, there were people in Kazakhstan and certainly critics in the West who were worried that China might overwhelm Kazakhstan and become a new hegemon. That hasn't been the case. It hasn't overwhelmed the country with investment. It's not overwhelmed the country or its relations with other strategic partners. It's not exploited the challenges facing Russia, given global pressures associated with the conflict in Ukraine. Rather, it's respected Kazakhstan's sovereignty. It's respected Russia's security interest in Kazakhstan and throughout Central Asia, and encouraged these multilateral relations through organizations like the SCO. But in terms of energy, clearly with the high, I think somewhere around 3% of the global reserves of oil and gas are found in Kazakhstan, perhaps more, given the holdings that Kazakhstan might have in the Caspian Sea. But the fact that Kazakhstan is also a major source of uranium. We know that uranium, of course, is not a green energy source, but it's better than coal and gas. And given the fact that our current energy needs are in crisis, but also expected to grow or outpace renewable energy production in the near future, it's going to play a vital role in helping us fight climate change in one form or another.
We're a little tight on time, so this may be a little unfair to ask you this two-part question, but what are the expectations for this summit? Because we already heard a couple of China's goals in terms of win-win and people-to-people ties, and also who isn't going to be there. It's a chance for President Xi to sit down face-to-face with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, well, it is the first offline meeting of the SCO in several years. It's the first international meeting that he will attend since the outbreak. But I think that the key point is that the SCO is a rare bright spot in global affairs. It's growing. It's got a lot of people, a lot of new countries that want to join. This will be the year that Iran will sign the instruments to become a full member next year. I think that it signals, in this year that the U.S. Left Afghanistan, that the region is no longer a playground for hegemons. It's a place where it's picking up the pieces and building on their links with each other to help recover from the outbreak, but also increasing new partnerships. So I expect sort of a victory lap here. We are very excited that Prime Minister Modi will be there and that he will meet with President Putin. There are still questions about whether President Xi will meet Modi. That would be a very significant or positive development, one that may not happen yet, but would be a nice follow-up to the pullback of each country's militaries that we saw in the recent weeks on their contested border. But I think if the meeting doesn't happen between Modi and President Xi, then it increases the likelihood of a one-on-one summit in the near term. So these are all, I think, some of the things that we're going to be seeing in the next couple of days.
Well, a lot to chew on there. We certainly appreciate it. Josef Gregory Mahoney, professor of politics and international relations, East China, Normal University. Thank you.